Hey, I'm Alex Van Aken. I'm a video editor over at Game Informer magazine, and I love video games. Shocker. I grew up in the 90s reading comic books and watching iconic shows like Batman the Animated Series. I was inspired by the style and otherworldly powers my favorite characters wielded, and spent my adolescence, drawing superheroes and filling out panels in my own comics. Then in 2004, an MMORPG was released that not only fulfilled that inner fandom of mine, but changed the perception of what video games could be. City of Heroes. I remember my first time logging into the game. After you completed the brief tutorial, you could choose between two cities to go to as your starting area. It was Galaxy City, I think, but I always chose Atlas Park. And when you spawned in Atlas Park, you spawned in and around this courtyard area and you were kind of standing beneath the shadows that were cast down by this huge statue that kind of took up the entire courtyard of this government building. And it was this giant statue of the city's namesake hero, Atlas. He was kind of like this Superman meets Captain America, and he was the game's mascot. And I remember just sitting there situated on the front steps of the City Hall building, and all around me, heroes of all shapes, sizes, and different abilities populated the streets of Paragon City, which is this roaring metropolis that you could explore by flight, super speed, teleportation, or you could even super jump like Hulk. And above me, there were higher level characters, kind of swirling in the air and just hovering above me. And I remember just the spectacle that was on display was, to me as a kid, awe-inspiring and kind of motivated me to play that game, and to, it just got me really excited. And that's because the game was home to one of the most robust character creators I've ever seen in a video game. And this game came out in 2004. The options on display in this game were ridiculous. Whether you wanted to cover the battlefield in flames, summon mind-controlled minions to do your bidding, or fly through the air with super strength like Superman, City of Heroes allowed you to do it. And one of the main reasons that I loved the game so much was I played it with friends, but more importantly, family. I started a super group with my mom and the guy who would eventually become my stepdad. It was called the Hands of Justice. And I think it was just like us in the clan, or in the super group rather. It's effectively a guild, if you're more familiar with that term. And it was just such an awesome time fighting crime, flying around the city. The dungeons were like these elaborate task force missions where you went to bad guy hideouts and took them down. Such a good game. There was sort of an unspoken rule or etiquette in the City of Heroes community when you're making a character, that you would, sort of role play and come up with this elaborate backstory for your character. And if you inspected other players, you could see their character sheet, and you could see, the biography that the person playing them had written. And it was a really cool way to further establish the background, and the creative aspect, the lore of, the character that you just spent an hour making. And the game made creating new characters so much fun that I would have 10 characters or whatever. I had maxed out the character count. And, some MMOs, you still do that. You still see that these days. But for the most part, I feel like we've kind of gotten away from that in the years since City of Heroes. But you would have, all sorts of alt characters and, tunes that you would level up for a little bit and have fun playing them. And then you'd, go try something new. I want to do a kung fu guy, or I'm going to have my guy shoot fire powers and have a gun. The game was ridiculous in these sorts of heroes that you could make. And eventually they came out with, a totally separate expansion called City of Villains, where, you guessed it, you can create your own super villain with super bases. Man, it was so cool. And actually, I recently joined the Homecoming server, which is like a fan-run City of Heroes private server that's supposed to imitate the official game, because unfortunately the City of Heroes servers, the official servers, shut down in 2012, leaving it to be a product of a bygone era. Although City of Heroes still remains one of my favorite multiplayer games of all time, Definitely one of the best MMOs I've ever played, and I miss it dearly. Just want to say thank you so much to Matt for inviting me onto this podcast. I appreciate having a few minutes to sit down and rant about, one of my favorite gaming experiences. So Matt, thank you. Thank you everybody else for listening, and happy gaming.